Well, thank you very much indeed, and it's a pleasure to be here. But most importantly, thank you to all of you for finding the time to come and join us this morning. It really is imperative that from a Ministry of Defence perspective that we engage with the wider community, the wider business community. All of you have so much potentially to offer us, and that is precisely why we invited you here today. But we hope that that relationship will be mutually rewarding for reasons hopefully that this morning will make clear. In general terms, there's probably no need to remind us that the UK is facing ever greater dangers today. This can be from extremism. We saw the attacks in Manchester and in London last year, or indeed more recently from Russian aggression, where we saw the terrible attack on the Skripals in Salisbury only 2 weeks ago. And it's absolutely important and imperative that we continue to deter and contest these new threats to our British interests. And indeed, conflict has moved now from that traditional state of war and peace almost to a point of constant competition. Sometimes we can't see that between states, but every day this country is suffering cyber attacks from around the world, on Parliament, on the National Health Service. And it's perhaps some of these areas which are less obvious to the general public, but we have to continue to work together and invest in, either from the National Security Cyber Centre, which is based here in Victoria, which offers the nation's central response and advice centre on cyber, to the specialist defence activities which we carry out. And that's why really, as the world changes, that we have launched our Modernising Defence programme. And this is all about trying to give the armed forces the right capabilities. And within that, we accept that the traditional concept of conflict on land, air and sea is now changing to include cyber and indeed cyberspace. And that's why innovation is absolutely vital. And we must pursue the technological big bets and big data in artificial intelligence and novel weapons to stay ahead of our rivals. So an awful lot of work is going into this area alongside what the more traditional defence posture that many people regard as well. And frankly, we've got a good record on this front. We set up, as many of you know, the £800 million Innovation Fund. We established the Defence and Security Accelerator to find ground-breaking solutions to capability challenges of the age. And we launched the first challenge last year. Already, within this, we have funded some 33 different projects. And the first two, for example, are making it easier for military operators and equipment maintainers to make better decisions, spot emerging threats and ensure that ships and aircraft avoid breakdowns. But it's not just about kit and equipment. Indeed, even more than that, it's about people. It's people that make defence tick. So with greater threats and greater demands on us to ensure that we have the right workforce that can respond to the challenges that we face, it's not just about operating high-tech kit. But we need people who can think, plan, and operate in imaginative ways which are necessary to keep ahead of that curve I referred to. But equally, we recognise that society is changing. Modern Britain has a very different face to that of 30 years ago. Traditionally, we would recruit young men from the northeast and the northwest who would join the British Army. But of course, modern Britain is very different, which is why we are doing our best to make sure that our armed forces represent modern Britain. That's why we set ourselves challenges to have 15% of new recruits being women, or 10% coming from the BAME population. And these are just some areas that we have to continue to work very hard at, particularly when it comes to finding the right role models, challenging when you have a bottom-fed organisation with limited lateral entry. But in the short term, we also face other challenges. We face the skills gap in areas of critical national importance, be it from STEM subjects or indeed recruiting engineers, but that's a challenge that we face across industry as well. In the medium term, we face competition from the private sector, Although we don't consider you to be competitors, we'd like to work in partnership with you. And that's one of the areas that we want to look very carefully at, how we can share the skill sets in a two-way manner that we both have. And there are exciting opportunities offered by tech companies. In my other life, when I'm not standing here as a minister, I'm a reserve. I serve as the Deputy Commander of 77 Brigade, one of the most innovative parts of the British Army, where only yesterday I was in uniform visiting that brigade, seeing our cyber reserves, who are experts in their fields, who are now working with us in the reserve space, doing cyber research and cyber work, which benefits both the British Army, but also their companies that they come from as well. And in the longer term, we face challenges coming from artificial intelligence and indeed the fourth industrial revolution. So defence is responding, and we're putting defence's best minds on the job. And the People programme is well underway with new impetus from the Modernising Defence programme. So we've introduced more flexible working. We've introduced skills passports to make it easier to move between the public and the private sector. But we recognise that defence does not have all of the answers, which is precisely why we've invited you here today. And when it comes to innovation, often the private sector is taking the lead and coming up with the solutions. So why today are we launching Innovations Fund, the Innovations Fund's first ever People Challenge? Well, we're doing that for some of the reasons I've just stated, but we have 5 principal themes. And these are better ways to recruit the right people, better ways to train and plug pressing skills gaps, better ways to retain our people and encourage them to progress in our organisation, better ways to motivate our workforce, and better ways to rehabilitate our people, ensuring that they get all the support they need post-offence, mentally and physically. And I'm deeply proud that some 96% of our former armed forces personnel make a really happy and good transition into civilian life. And these are just the sorts of people, highly trained, highly skilled, highly experienced, that hopefully we can give to you, industry, to then use those skill sets, which is why we want to form this partnership with you. And the Chief of Defence Personnel, Lieutenant General Richard Nugee, I'm simply the warm-up act, will give you more detail on that in a few moments. But in the meantime, really, it's over to you. All of you here have demonstrated a depth of strength in our industry. And whether it's specialists in IT, HR, or analytics, whether it's a big company that has previously worked with defence, or perhaps you're from a smaller company that's never worked with defence, all of you have got something to offer, and that's why we're so keen to open up our market to you and get you involved in working collaboratively with us. So, frankly, this is your opportunity to allow your imagination to run riot. If you succeed, you'll get to share some of the £3 million, and you'll get to test your groundbreaking ideas with us and put them into practice. And the competition will stay open until mid-May, and much more information on the competition is available hopefully here today, but also online. But please don't delay, please put your minds to it, and please open those minds and be prepared to work with us, because we are particularly keen to work with you. And we're looking to make our first awards by August. So these are exciting times. I don't think ever before defence has been so open and so keen to work collaboratively with industry. This is something we are absolutely determined to move forward to. We are determined that our people should have a strong career in the military. We are happy to lend them to you for a period of time. We hope perhaps they will come back to us. We would like to see portfolio careers, and this is precisely why we've introduced new legislation into Parliament to allow that flexibility to move between different careers in industry, into the military and back again, sharing those skill sets. But once again, can I take this opportunity to thank all of you for finding the time to come this morning. We look forward enormously to working with you. And now I'll hand over to the main event.